Alrighty, folks, it's time for category number 6. This is the Danfluencer Award. I'm calling this the Danfluencer Award because these are my personal picks for the most up and coming influencers in the atheist community of this year. And presenting these three people are our lovely moderator, Stitix.
The Dan-fluencer Award is dedicated to the new wave of atheist YouTubers who got some of their earliest on-air time being callers to Truth Wanted, and then went on to start creating their own original content or be a part of the shows of the ACA. The nominees for the Dan-fluencer Award are Notes from Autumn.
No, go ahead.
I keep cutting. There's a little delay, so I keep cutting you off. I was going to say maybe I can create a plant-based safe space.
A plant-based safe space? Did you come up with that?
Yeah, I did.
That is, I like
just made
that.
up.
I have never heard that before. That is awesome. A plant-based safe space. You need to copyright that. This is already going live. Somebody's going to steal it. Oh, man. Well,
being on there.
Puck.
If you put something on there, you're gonna get a response from me. I love being on there. I'm sure you've heard other hosts say stuff like, "Oh, I get a flood of emails. There's no possible way I could respond to it all." I don't have that problem yet. I'm a little jealous. So if you email this show and send anything attention Puck, I will know that, wait a sec, I actually have some meaningful things I can respond to. I look forward to the day when I am so flooded, I have to decide what to ignore. Please flood my inbox.
all right. Well, you heard it from Puck. Like, he wants his inbox flooded. Please sign him up for every single pornography site. You can just add that to his mailing list, or add him to those mailing lists, rather. That would be good. I think that's what he asked verbatim.
Unholy Shade.
It's so easy to fall into that cycle of just finding what you agree with, and sometimes, I mean, I definitely fall into this sometimes too. You got to kind of catch yourself, but finding what you agree with and disregarding what doesn't fall into that, and being able to look out for that and catch yourself doing that isn't necessarily a skill that's been taught to everyone, isn't necessarily a skill that everyone has.
And the winner is Puck.
I know, obviously, it's going to be a longer answer for me because I'm the vegan there, but Puck, I do want to hear your thoughts on it too.
Well, one of the most interesting things that I've come across in the past few months to learn how to be a proper host for Truth Wanted, I actually listened to every episode from the past year. And it's been fascinating following your journey, not necessarily having to wait week to week, but just getting to hear, like, the next day you had a conversation with somebody about where your next step is in the vegan journey. This is fascinating to listen to, and I encourage our listeners to do that, because you're in a very different place than you were just in February. So it's a lot of fun for me to see how you made that progression. As far as me, I grew up in a place where if you wanted chicken for dinner, you go to the backyard and pick one out. So animal husbandry and preparing animals to eat while they're still living, this has just been always a part of my existence. And in Alaska, there are a number of native tribes that still require subsistence, meat sources, caribou or whale even, and they're given special permission from the government to hunt even endangered animals, because this is just how their tribe sustains itself. You point out something very interesting, Dan, when you say that a lot of people actually have more options now. And that it's not, and veganism is not necessarily something that everybody can access.
Correct.
Right? So
Yes.
there are going to be some people who live on food islands, or food deserts, I should say, who just
Correct.
don't have the kind of access that they would need to have a healthy diet.
A side note too, sidebar, that's here in Austin as well. I'm not saying just because you live in a city, even.
Yeah.
Like they have, like, there's like over a dozen different, well, actually more than a dozen. I think it's like twice that here in Austin of food deserts, and that's just surrounding the cities. And they define that by how close you are to a grocery store and stuff. There's metrics for that. But yeah, like, definitely something to keep in mind. But continue.
Yeah. So for me, any ethical or moral question has so many entanglements that go along with it that to narrow it down to one choice, to me, seems overly simplistic. Now, Dan says he feels comfortable saying that overall he's reducing the suffering to humans, and I agree with him. Or sorry, to animals, and I can agree with him.
To humans, though, I can make that argument too, but that's for another day.
Yeah, and this is something that I personally probably have not put enough thought into, just because I've always just grown up in a place where, like I said, if you want chicken, you go out to the backyard, you find one, behead it yourself, and prepare it. I've done this with fish. So this is just how I've always naturally lived my life. Do I have this option? My honest answer is I've never actually consulted my doctor about asking whether or not my metabolism can sustain a vegan diet, which is another consideration too. Some people, for whatever reason, it's not the healthiest thing for them to do to go full vegan. This tells me I need to think about it more. But until then, I am sorry to say that I am going to be enjoying my bacon.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I mean, like one day I'd like to do a fuller kind of topic, because like this is a response that happens too, where it's like, oh, I haven't looked into this enough, and it's like, and that's a reasonable response. It's a fair response. I had to say the same thing. I think I said that on Truth Wanted at some point. So it's like, well, maybe I should do an episode where we actually do kind of go into it even deeper than what's been talked about. Now, it's just like, I think if you can do it, you should. Like, so that's what it is for me at the end of the day. I see no reason not to. The only reason why I would get McDonald's tomorrow is because I want to, right? Like, I don't have to. There is no particular reason that drives me to do that, other than the pleasure that I would get from that meal. I can get my food from any other kind of source and no animals would have to be directly harmed or cooked up in that process by doing it. And so, like, for me, yeah, I couldn't go back, even if because I don't want to, but like, it doesn't make sense for me on that moral level. It really just doesn't. And that's why I want to stick with it for as long as I reasonably can. And I think I probably could for the rest of my life. Who knows? We'll see. If I need, I don't know what nutrient I would specifically need from an animal that I couldn't get through a supplement, or couldn't be synthesized. But I mean, that is what it is. So anyway,
I think the reason this gets controversial is because it's always going to come down to one of two, and the people who ask this are usually, it seems like they try to narrow you down to one of two possibilities. Either you're inconsistent in your application of morals, or you're a moral monster. Right. I don't have a good answer right now as to why some people would have a problem going down to a lake here in Ohio and fishing up some trout for dinner. That is morally bad, but they would also have no problem spraying down a wasp nest in their attic.
Sure. Right?
Yeah. And it's like, where's that consistent application?
Here's the thing. It's about what's practical, right? Like what's most reasonable, what's best for you can do. You can be the best. Let's say you're the most moral person ever. You do everything right. You're Mr. Rogers Puck. But then it found out that you did something like, oh, maybe you hit your children, or you hit your spouse. Okay, you don't have to do that. That's something you can change. There's no reason that you couldn't do that and still do all the other things. And like, it's just one of those things where it's like everybody has options, and we have more of a choice in this matter than what people think. I think if I could stress anything, it's that. It's like I thought I couldn't do a vegan diet. I'm this giant dude. I thought I needed meat. I thought that was what I absolutely had to do. But it turns out I didn't, and I just didn't look into it enough. And there were so many things about the actual industry itself I didn't realize, in the process of how we get our foods and what people actually nutritionally need, that I just wasn't aware of because of carnism, because of this system that justifies us eating animals that's been going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So I have a lot of thoughts about this, actually, but I maybe we'll do a dedicated episode in next year. I'm thinking about doing something like that. We'll see, because there's a lot to deep dive into this, and I have more to say about this now than I ever have. So, oh, I'm getting word from the crew again. We have the winner of our category here wants to give an acceptance speech real quick. So here's our winner.
That I am humbled. I don't even know what to say. This is possibly the greatest achievement in my adult life ever since I started speedrunning video games. What does a victory speech even look like? I don't know. I would like to thank the many family members and friends and associates who have turned me into an atheist in the first place. Thank you to everybody who's allowed me to be on their channels, and the many platforms, Discord, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, that I've been on that allow me to express my opinion. Thank you very much to the ACA for all that they do and all the volunteers that they have going on behind the scenes doing stuff, mostly so I don't have to. And thank you, of course, to Dan, the Danfluencer himself, for putting on such a wonderful show and allowing me to tag along and ride on the success of his coattails. I look forward to much more great work with Dan and Truth Wanted and the ACA in the future. You guys are wonderful. Thank you.